eclipse, when you look at a lunar eclipse, the shadow will shift and change direction throughout a time lapse of the eclipse. So it can't possibly be the Earth just moving in front of the moon, because the source of the shadow changes its direction. So you got mad problems there. Also, the moonlight is measurably cold and gives off more gamma than the sun. So it can't be reflected sunlight. That alone debunks the heliocentric model of what the lunar eclipse is. So
physics and logic on a level supreme. It's a curved reality, split and flurf dreams.
Hey folks, how's it going? Curious UK here. So I happened to be cruising TikTok earlier this morning, and I came across a live stream of Nathan Thompson, also known as the Enoch of TikTok, and he was sitting there with another derpling named Tron. Somebody came up from Australia, so he already knows that the Earth is definitely not flat, and he was asking a couple questions. First question this fella asked was about the eclipse, so Nathan Thompson decides to try to explain it, but like a typical derpling, he has no idea what the hell he's talking about, and he spouts a load of useless crap. So let's break it down and go through his video, and then let's show where he's got it wrong.
a more serious answer, bro.
Yeah.
All right, so lunar eclipses is when the sun appears to change color. Now, that doesn't mean it's in the shadow of the Earth. We have things called impossible eclipses or selenelion eclipses. Dude, I was on modern day debating Globers for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, modern day debate, where he often lost, well, in fact, he always lost. At the point where last time he was on there, he's waving a white flag because he's getting destroyed so badly.
Navigation of Antarctica, and they're just ignoring it. They absolutely have.
As you can see already, Nathan's flying the white flag. He's already giving up. I think they're maybe an hour into the debate. He's already gave up. Look at that. Didn't take very long at all.
Zero answers. And I just want to point that out again, that these guys are just dodging and dodging and dodging. So now that we found out what they can't explain, let's also...
Oh, and Nathan's flying the white flag again. So that's 2 times Nathan Thompson has given up on this debate because he can't answer these questions. That's 2. Nathan's already starting to moan and cry, and he's already given up twice and flown the white flag. But let's continue on. As Nathan suddenly decides to deflect for whatever reason while he tries to think of something to derp out on and bullshit to start spewing, to pretend he's smart. We know he isn't, nor we also know that he doesn't wash his hands after having a number 2 in the toilet, and then goes to the fridge as he's eating some food.
And the host of modern day debate, every debate I talk about would have to read from a super chat, selenelion. And he could not for 5 years. You could go watch the record, bro. This is on record. Could not pronounce it. So every single time, before he even read it, I'm like, James, it's selenelion. After like 3 years, I'm like, just start it. I just said it before. So you have those impossible eclipses. They do not.
No, I know the dubbed impossible eclipses, and it's mainly because it's impossible to flat Earth. But flat Earthers don't realize this because it's too stupid. They realize that the selenelion eclipse actually falsifies their model and is impossible to work. Also, his comment of saying that the Earth, the moon changes color, it doesn't. Well, it doesn't. It's due to the Earth passing between the moon and the sun, and when you see it go red like that, that is due to the fact of our atmosphere bending the light, and it's blocking like the blue light spectrum, which is a shorter wave pattern, and the longer wave patterns of the red light spectrum are able to kind of pass through our atmosphere, and then it makes the moon look red, which you get something like a blood moon or something like that. So that's why sometimes the moon, you'll see it go red, or if there's an eclipse, a partial eclipse, you'll see it where the moon looks really quite red, and that's what that is. That's only because the sun, literally, the color change falsifies the flat Earth model, because the moon changing to that color is due to the Earth's atmosphere, which is held to the surface of the Earth by the gravitational pull of the Earth, and the sun being 93 million miles away and passing through the atmosphere and it bending and blocking the light, that only the red light spectrum is able to illuminate the moon, which then also shows evidence that the sun's light is what is illuminating the moon. So Nathan Thompson has already gave evidence that falsifies his flat Earth derpia pizza planet already. Let's move on.
Do not work on the. That's why they call them impossible.
in the chat now, so hang on.
That's just Nathan lying again. Now, this guy here, YouTuber called the Debunker, he has modeled it out perfectly in real time.
Okay, so excuse the audio, I'm recording it all on the P950, but here's the setup. We've got our 6-inch globe right here, 16 feet away. I've got golf ball moon, 55 feet on this side. I have the sun. This is the same angular resolution, or yeah, angular size as the sun. It's not focusing for some reason, but that circle in the center that won't, there we go. That circle is the same angular size. It's a 6-inch hole at 55 feet away. It does have some bleed around, but I was too lazy to fix that, and that's not what we don't need to worry about that, and I'll explain why. But I could model this to real size, but I would need an 80-foot light bulb about 1.2 miles away, and it would have to be like so absurdly bright, it'd be impossible to make. So if anybody wants to invest and create the impossible light bulb for me, by all means, go for it. So part of the setup, we've got the tangent is the sidewalk, that crack in the sidewalk there. My tape measure is in it, that's why it looks white. But the crack in the sidewalk is our tangent. Lines up with the edge of the Earth here. Our moon is about 3 degrees above the horizon. So if I turn it this way, about 3 degrees above the horizon. And then our moon, or our sun, rather, same thing, about 3 degrees off the horizon. So the moon is 6 inches or so from the tangent, 6.5 inches. The sun is about 5 feet from our tangent. Now here's what we're going to do. I'm going to end up blocking the globe here. But we're going to turn it this way and see if we can replicate what the guy sees. Now this is going to be if my camera focuses. I can't even tell. I looked at the bright light and now I'm blind. It's not focusing, but let's... blocked it with the Earth. So there's our Earth. There it is. Now they're standing here, so it's just before sunrise. Now we know that they will get light enough because every single one of us has experienced at least an hour after sunset where there's still light enough to, like, you can read papers. But they are a little bit before sunrise. Now down here, I'm gonna just come down here because that didn't help much. But we can see the shadow on the golf ball. If the camera will ever adjust. Come on. Yeah, the camera won't adjust for some reason. But we can see the shadow on the golf ball. What's fun is we can actually make the shadow out on the little back here. There's the golf ball. There's the golf ball shadow. There's the globe shadow. I have this up to block that light. I was going to go this direction where it's a lot darker, but people are parked over there. So yeah, that is what they're seeing. And the reason why they are seeing that, let's move this way, is because the sunlight itself is passing on this side of Earth and causing that side of Earth's shadow to cast a shadow on this side of the ball. We can actually see if we can see it from straight up. You can see it a little bit here. So let me block the street light. So you can kind of see it a little bit how it's lighter on the left side than it is the right side. The street light ruins that a lot. So what's happening? They are standing here looking that way at the moon. The sunlight itself is passing on this side, causing the shadow of here to land on that side of the moon. And we could model this in computer models and model it in 3D space like this, but we could put this on motors and have it all do the things. I'm not going to do that. The clips that I've seen where people claim selenelian eclipses, there's one that is named selenelian eclipse. They really aren't. They're being shown and saying these are the impossible eclipse, the selenelians, and they're not, because they don't show the sun and the moon at the same time. They're simply a setting happening lunar eclipse before the sun rises. Like I said a second ago, my favorite thing about this is I can go out into my road and model this and match it really close. The so-called mystery shadow isn't a mystery. They're standing here and the sun is passing below their feet about 8,000 miles on this side of Earth. Just like we know is what's happening. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk on how people are showing videos saying selenelian eclipse when it's not a selenelian eclipse. This is how some of those eclipses happen, where it looks to you that the top of the moon is being blocked, but it's literally just your perspective.
80 people, guys. Share the live. If we get more genuine people coming up, Tron will stay in the RV. I'll lock the doors. I have chains and whips and belts. Those are for the Glovers.
The RV that Nathan Thompson lives in his mom's driveway, and he only has those things there because how else is Nathan Thompson going to keep a woman around? I mean, or anybody else to come around and actually hang out with him. He pretty much has to chain them in and lock all the doors up. I mean, Nathan, you're the one who admitted to having that stuff and that you can lock and chain the doors shut. What else did you have that? That's weird. And I think you just said the quiet part out loud there, Pumpkin. Ugh, not a good look.
But check this out. Also, you have the Babylonian Soros cycle. Even Fred Espenak at the Goddard Space Center, they call him Mr. Eclipse. He not only predicts the eclipses based on the Babylonian Soros cycle, but get this. With your tax money, he's done geocentric ephemerides, geocentric, for the next 12 years on the sun, the moon, and the planets. So they know what's up. Literally, they know what's up.
So no, that's actually kind of wrong. They don't actually use the Soros cycle for a high accuracy. They use it for maybe a general idea, but we have much better models that use stuff like the orbit of the moon, sun, and Earth, as well as gravitational pull and stuff like that. I'll show you here in a second how the Soros cycle is kind of used, but it's only just a rough estimate on how we are much more accurate now. Actually 100% accurate. And the Soros cycle, Babylonian Soros cycle, has a lot of limitations, as well as it doesn't actually predict things in the long term. It has to continuously be updated and readjusted, and is only more accurate now and used for short-term stuff, but we have to readjust it with modern technology and modern observations. So as you can see here, the Babylonian Soros cycle is remarkably accurate, predicting the reoccurrence of similar solar and lunar eclipses spanning 18 years, 11 days, and 8 hours. While it successfully predicts that an eclipse will happen, the 8-hour offset means the eclipse occurs 120 degrees west of the previous one, making precise path predictions difficult. So key details on accuracy: high reliability. The cycle aligns 3 key lunar orbital periods: the Sardonic, Draconic, and anomalistic months, allowing for consistent, recurring, and very similar but not identical eclipses over thousands of years. Limitations: because the cycle is not an exact integer number of days, it has an extra 8 hours. The location of the solar eclipse shifts geographically. Furthermore, because the cycle is not perfectly precise, solar cycles eventually end with individual eclipses gradually changing from partial to total to annular over centuries. Historic context: the Babylonians used this method, identified by the term SAR, to successfully predict eclipses based on centuries of recorded data. Long-term precision. While excellent in short-term predictions, small deviations in orbital cycles add up over long periods, meaning the Soros cycle requires adjustment for high precision modern calculations. Also, why the solar cycle falls short on location. Westward shift because of that extra 8 hours, 1/3 of a day. The path of totality of the solar eclipse shifts roughly 120 degrees west every 18 years. The solar eclipse in a series might be visible in Africa, while the next one 18 years later in Asia. Not exact time. Saros is not an exact integer of days, so the time of day can vary. Location accuracy. The Saros can only provide a very rough long-term estimate of where an eclipse will be visible. It is of no help in predicting the precise path of totality, which is typically a narrow 200-mile wide strip. Triple Saros. To see similar eclipse in a similar location, you must wait for 3 Saros cycles, 54 years, 34 days, a period known as Excel Monges. This allows an 8-hour shift to accumulate. 3 times 8 equals 24 hours, causing the eclipse to return to roughly the same longitude. When the solar cycle is accurate time, the solar cycle is excellent for predicting the timing of eclipses, typically within a few hours. Lunar eclipses. These are visible from half the planet, so the solar cycle is highly effective at predicting them. Series trends. If correctly predicted, the long-term trend of series, e.g. whether it starts at the poles and moves towards the equator, or is a total annular conclusion. For precise modern sub-kilometer and second accurate, you need complex mathematical models, ephemerates, used by astronomers, not just 18-year solar cycle. Now, I did ask, the most accurate model for predicting eclipses used by modern astronomers involves high-precision numerical integration of astronomical ephemerates combined with lunar limb profiles and detailed Earth elevation maps. The profile allows scientists to predict eclipses with accuracy within a few seconds and pinpoint the path of totality to within a few hundred meters or even closer. Here's a breakdown of the methods that provide the highest accuracy. Numerical integration of ephemerates. Rather than relying on simple cycles, modern predictions, such as those by NASA, utilize complex algorithms that compute the precise, non-linear, three-dimensional position of the Sun, Earth, and Moon over time. These models incorporate Newton's law of motion and account for gravitational perturbations from other celestial bodies. So they actually rely on gravity, something that Nathan Thompson denies. Lunar topography data. The most recent high accuracy maps integrate data from the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter. Oh, what? There's like an orbiter that went around the moon? Holy crap. By accounting for the mountains and valleys on the moon's edge. The lunar limb. These models can calculate precise timing of Bailey speeds and the duration of totality, which can vary by several seconds. Earth elevation data. For high precision on the ground, models incorporate elevation because the observer's altitude slightly changes the timing and location of the moon's shadow. Delta T adjustment. To account for the irregular, unpredictable slowing of Earth's rotation, so let's talk about Earth's rotation, models use a correction factor called Delta T, ensuring a high accuracy even for long-term predictions. Key takeaways for accuracy. NASA uses these sophisticated computer-driven models to produce 5 millennium catalogs for solar and lunar eclipses. That's 500 years, by the way, for those who don't know. Accuracy levels. These models are accurate within seconds of time and are with modern mapping and can be accurate to within a few hundred meters of the path of totality. Superior to Saros, while the age of 18-year solar cycle is still used to understand the repetition of eclipses, it is not used for high precision mapping of the math of totality, as it cannot account for changes in Earth's rotation or precise lunar positions. So that pretty much debunks everything Nathan Thompson just said. Maybe if he actually did a little bit of research, he'd know the stuff and he wouldn't say such stupid things. Who am I kidding? It's Nathan Thompson. He'll never do that.
On top of that, the eclipse, when you look at a lunar eclipse, the shadow will shift and change direction throughout a time lapse of the eclipse. So it can't possibly be the Earth just moving in front of the moon, because the source of the shadow changes its direction. So you got mad problems there also.
Once again, Nathan Thompson's got something completely wrong there. It's not the Earth that's moving between the sun and the moon, but it's the moon moving around to be blocked into the shadow of the Earth. And so then, as the moon goes, then the Earth's already there, the moon's orbiting around. Remember, the moon orbits around the Earth. Also, the moon's orbit is not 100% horizontal with the rotation of the Earth and the equator, sorry, but it's actually on a 5-degree tilt. So that's why we only have eclipses 2 times a year, and that's only because as we orbit around the sun, where the moon crosses our path between us, so it comes across here, is where we see that. Other times a year, the moon's either slightly too high or slightly too low to either block the sun or to get in Earth's shadow. So that's why we only have eclipses at certain times of the year, in the spring and in the autumn. So yeah, that's also why, because of that tilt on the orbit of the moon, and the moon's orbit isn't 100% isn't equal all the way around. It's actually elliptical, right? So it goes further out at some points and closer than other points. Why the eclipses are sometimes the shadow comes from a different angle. It also depends on your location, the viewer's location on the Earth, where you're viewing it from, on where you're going to see the moon, the shadow of the moon, or shadow on the moon. So obviously, if you're the southern hemisphere, so I'm here, maybe the northern hemisphere, I might see the shadow come down this way, but if you're in the southern hemisphere, you'll see the shadow come up that way. So it also depends. But if you're off the side of the moon, like off the side, you may actually see it come from a different way, because it depends, because the Earth is a sphere, and so we can be different vantage points, just so then it's your perspective which way you're going to see it come from. So there's several different factors that come into play there, but it has to do with mainly the orbital plane of the moon, as well as where you're observing the the eclipse from in the first place. So but these things are just too complicated for Nathan Thompson to comprehend. He's a very, very simple man, which is why he still lives with his mommy in a camper in her driveway, and he's in his 40s as well.
Also, the moonlight is measurably cold and gives off more gamma than the sun, so it can't be reflected sunlight. That alone debunks the heliocentric model of what the lunar eclipse is. So,
really, Nathan? Dude, I've already tagged you in this video, but well, I'll put it on here again, just a little clip from it. I tested this claim that moonlight apparently is colder than the rest. Yeah, that's bullshit. This has been tested loads of times and proven wrong every single time. It's just a stupid flat earth claim they make up because they're idiots. So, yeah. I'll show you what I mean now. Okay, so one thing I see quite a bit flat earthers try to claim is that the moonlight is cold light. You got the moon there. So as you can see here, we have dark moonlight. Here we have shadow. Here we have light. Shadow, light. You see the line there? In the shadow. The shadow 8.3, moonlight 8.6. So in the shadow, out of the moonlight 8.1, outside the shadow we have 8.6. So this debunks the flat earth claim. As you can see here, dark over there. Like, so this is hidden from, this is over here, hidden from in the shadow, right? And we have 8.3. In the moonlight, we have 8.7. That disproves the flat earth claim that the moonlight is cold. In fact, it's the exact opposite. It just showed that the moonlight is actually slightly warmer, and in the shadows is colder. Flat Earth claim falsified. Oh dear Nathan, that didn't go so well for you, did it? You're not doing so good in this, because pretty much every single claim you made falsified. And maybe if you hadn't, decided to ignore me in this or keep blocking me and kicking me, you'd actually learn a few things. But I know you don't want to, because it hurts your little feelings, facts, evidence, the truth, when you're trying to grift your little Flat Earth cult. But yeah, you're just stupid, and the Flat Earth is pretty much dead. But hey, well, we'll just keep taking out the little dregs that's still around like you.
Like, it's Swiss cheese on the globe religion, and on a flat Earth, it's like, well, we didn't make the sky, but we can predict it. We can model it, actually.
No, you can't, Nathan. There's no Flat Earth model that can predict even anything in the sky. You can't show southern star trails. That falsifies the Flat Earth. Doesn't work whatsoever. And you can't even predict something like sunrise and sunset as accurately as a globe. And I mean, sunrise and sunset is anywhere on the Earth to predict the time and path of the sun from sunrise to sunset, as well as where it's going to hit its going to hit the highest point and down. As soon as you try to do that, Flat Earth is falsified. Doesn't work whatsoever, and especially if you do anything in the southern hemisphere. Let's say, like today, in let's say Brisbane, Australia, try to model the Flat Earth where using just a Flat Earth, model the sunrise and sunset. Now remember, it is observable reality that the sun rises south of east and sets south of west. That doesn't work on your Flat Earth. I know you're going to say Joe Hanvey's model. Joe Hanvey's model has failed, and he gave it to you because he gave up on it, because it's been falsified that many times that he just gave up and walked away from it. And any observations you make are always from the outside of the dome, which is really weird, because as soon as you try to put observer inside the dome where you claim we are, the model fails, falls apart, it doesn't work.
I've got a Joe Hanvey dome model, and when you line up the sun on the antipolar side or the opposite side of the center, and the way the light refracts around the dome, you can actually create similar. Not only that, but if you really look into the lunar eclipse, there's like a wave that moves in front of the penumbra, and there's a wave that moves out of the penumbra. There's like a second shadow. And Joe can model that with the dome I have in my RV. I can't do it. I don't know what he's doing. He spent way more time doing it.
So no, that's a lie. Joe Hanvey's model does not show the eclipses whatsoever. In fact, all of Joe Hanvey's observations are from outside of his magical dome, which completely falsifies the Flat Earth model, because you claim that we're inside the dome and we can't get out. So why is all his observations from only outside of his dome that he's made up? And why has Joe Hanvey stopped showing this? He hasn't done a video in about 10 months. He hasn't shown this stuff. I think he's gave you that dome and let you just go around playing with it. And you claim you don't even know how it works. So how do you know this works so well if you say you can't make it work? Weird, isn't it? It's almost like you have something, you have no idea how it works, and you can't make it work because it doesn't work. But guess what? The globe model works perfectly fine. We can model it on computer software. We can model it in real life, like the one I showed earlier in this here, where the fella was able to model the eclipses perfectly fine without a problem. But yeah, Joe Hanvey's model doesn't work. It fails, and it's been falsified hundreds and hundreds of times. So yeah, nice. You keep coping there, Nathan. You keep claiming stuff, but you can't even make it work. You can't even show it working. So yeah, I'm gonna say that's a lie. But we know you are there, shit fingers. So you keep doing that, Buttercup. But and go wash your hands, you dirty minger. Oh, terrible. Man, 40 years old, and does he wash his hands after he uses the toilet and goes and like, eats food straight away? Ugh, disgusting. No wonder he can't keep a woman. He's got to lock him in his RV just to get him to stick around for a night, even after he pays him. All right. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, follow me for more videos, click the thumbs up, and click that bell. See you again. Remember, people, Earth's the globe, space is real, but don't forget, stay curious. I'll see you again.
Stuff like that's why people quit flat Earth, dude. You know? That's why people quit, dude.